So I had quite the experience this weekend. For the past several months, I have been planning my best friend's baby shower, and they live a state away, so like a 7.5 hour drive for me. I decided, like kind of last minute, a week ago, that I was gonna just rent a car, just to avoid having tire miles added to my car. And I was like, you know what? A rental car is going to be cheap. It's not that bad. It's going to be just fine. I look on to enterprise.com and see I can get a rental car for the weekend for $170. Sweet. Book it. So cool. We book the car and we're ready to go. On Friday, I come home and George is asleep. This is not a problem. It is fine to be sleepy. I come home from work, and what I originally planned was leaving. Leaving like the second I got home. I said, guys, George, we have to get out of here. We got to be driving because I don't want to drive until 1 a.m. And he's like, got it, understood. So I get home and he's asleep, which is fine. So he wakes up when I get home, and he starts getting ready. He starts packing his clothes. We get going about an hour late, which was fine. So I call Enterprise while I'm sitting on the bed waiting for George to get ready. I call Enterprise and I tell them that, hey, like, my appointment was at 3:30. I need to move it to about 45 minutes from now because we're about 30 minutes away and we're leaving right now. And he was like, okay, I'll move it to an hour from now. Pick up an Uber so that we can just go ahead and Uber to Enterprise so that we don't have to leave my car there over the weekend. And when we get in the car, every single tiny brake in this man's car is like whiplash supreme. Every single tiny brake was a slam. We just went like the tiniest things, going 5 miles an hour, slam, 10 miles an hour, slam. It was the worst, and I got car sick within the first 3 minutes of being in the car. So 3 minutes pass and we make it to the highway, and it's backed up all the way off the highway, which is not normal, all the way off the highway. In my head, for like split second, I said, tell him to go a different way. Tell him to go a different way. And I didn't. So he proceeds to get onto the backed up highway and sit.
15 minutes later.
And sit.
Thousands of tears later.
And sit. The app didn't give him a different route because we were on one road with no off turns and cars everywhere. At the end of the day, I should have said, go a different way, go a different way, go a different way, but I didn't. So I call Enterprise again, and at this point it's 4:30, and my appointment was moved to 4:30. So I said, hey, I had an appointment at 3:30. I had to get it moved to 4:30. I am stuck in traffic, and I think I'm going to get there at 5:30. That is what my Google Maps says. It says that I'm going to be there in an hour, even though I am 11 minutes away. 11 minutes. And so I'm on the phone with these people, and the only response he says to me is, okay, we close at 6. I'm calling at 4:30, and I said I was going to get there in an hour at 5:30. And you're upset that I'm getting there 30 minutes to close when I had an appointment at 3. So anyway, yeah, I get it from like a working standpoint. Like, just like reschedule, don't come in, go somewhere else, whatever. But at the end of the day, that was like the last thing I wanted to hear. You could have walked faster than that, I assumed. I could have, and I didn't. Because I had bags. I had an air mattress with me, and we had boxes of stuff for the baby shower. It was not like feasible to like carry a shit things. That is specifically why we didn't walk. So we're in the Uber, and we get there in like 30 minutes instead of an hour, which was nice. So we get there at 5. And I say, like, hey, like, I'm so sorry I'm late. Thank you so much for being patient with us. Let's get this show on the road. So they let us put all of our shit, all of our stuff in the back of the car that we were going to take. So they proceeded to take like an hour and a half to like walk around the car. They kept like pointing at every scrape on the car and being like, this isn't going to get you in trouble. This isn't going to get you in trouble. You're good. I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, I better not get in trouble. I didn't do these things. But I understand they were saying like, if you leave and come back, these things were already there, but it wasn't being like worded that way. So I was like, okay, like that's awesome, cool, thanks, perfect, like everything being super polite. And then an hour passed while we were in there, and they were looking over the car, checking the miles, making us wait. He tells me that I can only pay on a credit card. They will not accept any other form of payment. And so I was like, okay. The car is how much? This much money. Perfect. So I find one of my credit cards that has this much money on it. And I say, here it is. And then he says, okay, tells me the price. And then says, okay, so it's that price plus $300 for a down payment. I'm going to charge that right now on your card. And I was like, well, I don't have that. So, he just slams me with a $300 down payment after telling me the total price of the car, which was like fine, but like you weren't upfront about this, so I was so confused. And I was like, okay, on one credit card I can do the price of the car, and another credit card I can do the down payment, or I can do the down payment on my debit card, or I can literally pay you the down payment in cash. Anything that you need. I was giving them so many options, and he was like talking to his manager on his little mic. He's like, hey, so she's getting all the protective stuff, can we do this? And they just kept saying no. And I was like, so you need $670 on one credit card, even though online I booked this car for $130 or $150 or something like that. And they were like, yeah, the online price is an estimate. And I was like, okay, cool. So how do we figure this out? So anyway, I was so upset. I didn't get upset at the guy because he's doing his job. At the end of the day, he's probably like beholden to these shitty rules. And it's not their fault that the website for Enterprise, which is a general website not run by the local places, it was not this guy's fault personally that he was like having a bad time. But anyway, I started crying. Because I'm laughing now because it's ridiculous, because I cry very easily in the first place. And I was like, maybe 10 minutes of conversation had gone by, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't do the credit card all on one, but I can do 2 different credit cards. I could even do 3. I could even leave a card here as like collateral. I could leave something here. I could do that. I could do this. I could do that. And they're just like, nope, sorry. And I was like, but you didn't tell me this on the phone. There's nothing about this online. So he finally like tells me I can use a debit card. He said, okay, you can use a debit card. And I was like, yes. And then he tells me that I can only use a debit card if I give him 2 bills of mine, like a phone bill or like utilities. And maybe I don't know. I said, okay, I could pull up my rental agreement because all my utilities are on rent. So I was like, okay, here it is. I pulled up the rent and it had everything on there. And he said, sorry, we don't take leases. We don't take we don't take utilities that are mixed with leases. And I was like, this is when I started crying. I was like, I literally have nothing. So I was so stressed. And I was like, I don't understand. And then they like had the audacity to be like, well, he could pay for it, paying to like talking to George. I was like, excuse me? Anyway, so he said, well, you know, we could do it through you. And he just goes, no. uh, so I was like so angry. Not at this guy. Again, this guy was like just doing his job. He's beholden to very shitty rules, and he probably gets a lot of shit all day. I told him, I was like, I am so upset because I have to tell my best friend that I've been planning a baby shower for 3 months that I can't go. And that's not your fault, man. And he goes, like super politely. And I was like, but this is stressing me out because I feel like you're really just not working with me at all. And and he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back inside now, is what he said. He said, I'm gonna go back inside now. And so he went inside. And so what I started doing outside this enterprise is I started calling my credit card company to see if they would do like a one-time like up of my amount that I could have, just to like just explain the situation. They probably would have said no, but at least I would have like known that was an option that I couldn't do. At this point, I should have just got an Uber back home, but I didn't want to because I just spent an hour and a half in the car getting there, and I just wanted to drive and leave and not get to my friend's house at 2 a.m. So, I should have done that, but I didn't. And so I sat there and I was calling, and it was just an automated system. And I guess I sat out there long enough being like on the phone that the manager guy came outside and he goes, hey, I'll let you pay with debit. And I just go, huh? Really? Really? And so I like go inside and pay with debit. And so give this man's the amount, like this shit amount of money that he wants, and we get going. So we're driving. The drive is fine. Until it hits about 9 p.m., which at this point was like 3 hours after we started driving. We hit and drove with a myriad of weather conditions to the point where it was like 10% visibility for like 2 hours straight. I was like, I was so like stressed, like holding in a lot of stress while driving because I just didn't want to like die. So nothing happened to the car until we arrive at 2 a.m. We get to the state that my friend lives in, and I say, hey, we're here. And as I say that to my friend on the phone, the little tire light shows up, and it says like pressure loss indicated. And I was like, we were 2 minutes from their house, and I was in my car. I said out loud to George, this sounds like a tomorrow problem. And I just drove to my friend's house on a quickly depleting wheel, which was a tomorrow problem. The baby shower itself went just fine. We went to like a town over to get like a cake, and I decorated, and everything was great, and people showed up, and it was fun. And that night I got like a stomach virus at my friend's house at like 3 a.m. It hit me, and like the bathroom that I needed to go into was locked, and I had no idea where the other bathroom in their house was. So I was just like inching along this house, like trying not to there's no all the wood pieces in their house do like crazy creaks, so there is no sneaking around at all. So it's 3 a.m. and I'm just like going down the stairs going going down their stairs like Sorry. This was the worst. When we were on our way back, the tire pressure turned out to just be like the faulty sensor. And then we drove back and it was fine. Everything was fine on our drive back until we hit a snowstorm in the highest point of the mountains in Colorado. And it increased our trip by 3 hours because of how slow we had to go. So rolling down the mountain at 5 miles an hour. I couldn't see anything. The car was awful. Everything was awful. People were sliding. We're on the edge of a mountain and we're going 5 miles an hour. So we made it down the mountain, finally. We get home and we trade to get into my car so that we can meet over at Enterprise and drop off the car and never speak of this place again. Perfect. We made it home. We had a good night. End of trip. So anyway, Tuesday happens and I get a call from Enterprise and they say, hey, sorry we haven't given you your money back. It's been busy. And I was like, okay, yeah, no worries. Do you have an ETA on when that's going to happen? And they said, yeah, today. I'm about to finish it up right now. So that was Tuesday. Today, I still don't have the money back. So I call Enterprise and I say, hey, I am just wondering if I'm going to get my deposit back. And so they tell me that it was already sent. And I was like, it was not already sent because I do not have it. Do you have the form that you said you would email me saying that it has been sent? I would like a copy of that. That would be great. And I say it much nicer than that. And so within like 5 seconds, he tells me, oh, actually, just kidding. It says pending on your account because we needed to confirm that you had a good experience. And I said, actually, not really. And I know that it wasn't you guys' fault or anything, but I ended up crying. Because I felt like I wasn't really being worked with, and I had a lot to do, and I was at your establishment for about an hour and a half, just trying to figure out options to get a car and to get a move on. And that wasn't happening. And in fact, I felt pretty bad, and I don't think I'm ever going to be using this location again. And they said, well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Would you like more money back? And I said, actually, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And they said, okay, well, I'm going to get an approval for that, and I'll be back with you in just a second. And I said, perfect, thank you. And then they said, please hold. I said, cool, awesome. They said, ringtone music. And then they came back and they said, so actually, so my manager said that I can't do that. And I said, okay, so can I get the $300 back now, please? And they said, yeah, that's fine. And so I texted George immediately and was like, I am so pissed. But on the phone, I was super nice. So anyway, that's it. That was it. That was my conversation on the phone today. And I will not be using Enterprise at least for the next time that I get a rental car, if I'm being realistic, because I'm salty. Ever. True. Ever. So yeah, that was, I felt like that was just a bad time. Thanks for listening.